I'm continuing my series of MASH retro reviews with Season 1, Episode 18, Dear Dad, Again. So, this is the second, Hawkeye writing a letter home to his father. And I do think I like actually the first one a little bit better. I feel like the narrative element of Hawkeye writing a story and telling basically some vignettes about what's going on in the camp was a bit more present. Yes, it's still going on, but I feel like the individual scenes that Hawkeye is describing take up more part than him actually writing the letter. I feel like there's not as much strong connection. Like, he'll describe something, and then we'll see an event that's similar to what he described in terms of, like, I think the word I'm looking for is he's not, in his letter, he's not so much describing the events, but doing a lot more describing the emotions, the feelings, the vibes of the events. That's part. That's what I'm trying to get at, and I think that is definitely what's going on in this episode. But you know what? It's still a great episode. I mean, they actually have some great fun scenes and some overarching connecting elements. The main one being they have a new doctor who's helping out, Captain Casey. Well, it turns out he's not really a doctor or a captain. And he gets caught, but Hawkeye's not gonna blow the whistle and just hey, you've been kind of caught. So you just leave and I won't do anything about it. But I do encourage you to actually try to become a real doctor because you're doing a very good job. So that's something to note. And at the end, the last scene is, he's leaving the camp, and instead of pretending to be a doctor, he's now going to be pretending to be a chaplain. So I do have to say, because it was revealed in the conversation between Hawkeye and Casey, actually, that's not his real name, I think it was Schwartz, but regardless, is that he just never had the drive to get the diploma, get the certification, i.e. do the education to do the stuff, but he can do a lot of that stuff. But I gotta say, becoming a religious faith leader is, depending on the religion, can be a lot easier. I mean, nowadays especially, there's some churches where you just have to fill out a form on the website and boom, they consider you an ordained minister, while others require you to actually get schooling, proper schooling. No, there's many churches require their pastors to have a Master's of Divinity. So there's a lot of difference based off of whichever sect they're a part of. But hey, you maybe have thousands of percent easy to get the qualifications for, theoretically. I don't know how it was back in the time, and I'm pretty sure to be a chaplain in the military, there's probably a bit more paperwork involved. Because it's the military, the government, there's gonna be paperwork involved. If there's not paperwork, I'm more shocked. But anyhow, there's some other fun scenes. This episode, for example, is when we're introduced to Frank's nickname, Ferret Face. So, and he's the one who reveals it because his brother used to call him that. Man, he did not have a nice family. That explains a lot about Frank. He probably just did not have a very good, healthy environment, and that really harmed his socialization, his growing up. So, a little bit of sympathy there for him, but he never makes an effort to improve, unlike Margaret. And speaking of Margaret, there's actually as Harker describes it, a no talent show. And yeah, none of them had talent. And Margaret singing, she's, I think, sings in some later episodes, but her singing here was portrayed as terrible. So I do have to say, this is also her being a little more loose, in terms of not so much the word I'm looking for as being, a hardline military purist, for lack of a better term. And we do see her open up like that later on in the show. But this is kind of almost like that first little thing showing that there's a softer side to her, a less hardline side, if you will. There's other small moments here and there I can mention, but overall it's a good episode, though I do prefer the first Dear Dad episode. Oh, and one last thing, Klinger also appears in this episode. He's got some decent scenes, and probably one of the best ones, if I was what this episode might be best known for, is that, so Klinger's introduced in this episode, he's wearing a wedding dress as part of his bid to get out on a Section 8. Though, he really probably should try something other than Section 8 because I can really follow him in civilian life. Because that would not be considered an honorable, or other than honorable discharge would be considered a dishonorable discharge. But moving past that, basically him and Hawkeye have a brief conversation. Hawkeye tells him to, wear a slip because he can see his shorts, something along those lines, and describing the clothing in some form. But anyhow, after that scene, Hawkeye and Trapper are talking, and Hawkeye is saying that he could go through the mess tent wearing nothing and nobody would notice, and they bet $50. So Hawkeye gets dressed up. By that I mean he actually puts on his dress uniform hat, or the garrison cap specifically, and polishes his captain balls, which he really does. So just wearing his hat and his captain balls, he leaves the swamp and walks to the mess tent. And he actually one soldier salutes him and he gives a proper salute back. Doesn't happen too much. And he's in line. Nobody's noticed anything yet. Well, I noticed something, but I'll get that in a moment. And then one soldier stirs up, look, and drops his tray, spotting what's going on. And Trapper walks in and asks for his $50 because I believe that was the amount of the bet. And then Klingo comes in and basically it's calling back to earlier with him describing, Hawkeye's dress or lack thereof in the same way Hawkeye described his dress. I forget the exact details and all that, even though I just watched the episode. But there's so much other stuff in this episode. But the thing is, in some of the scenes, I don't know if Alan Alda is actually wearing anything in his private regions, because they use some very clever blocking techniques to prevent us, the audience, from seeing that stuff. But, and while he's in the mess line, I was like, wait, is he wearing pants? I go back. You can see the waistline of some pants that Hawkeye is wearing during that scene. It might just be some shorts, but in at least one scene for filming, he is wearing something. And I don't think that was intended to be caught on camera. It's at the bottom of the frame, so basically here. Well, not here, because my chest is here, but effectively at the bottom of the frame where they did not intend for it to be visible, but it is. That could be something, I don't know. I suspect when they made the DVD, they probably rescanned all the masters and all that, so the DVD might be a remaster, so better quality, so scenes that would have been cut off in the original film grain and in the just original recordings that with more static you would have not seen, but now with better displays, perhaps even a remaster, I'm not sure about that, you can actually make out that mistake. That was something that was not supposed to be left in, but it was left in. And it's fun seeing mistakes like that, things that give you a glimpse into the filmmaking process. I already mentioned the blocking techniques used in the episode to prevent us from seeing anything. But the thing is, it was really clever blocking techniques, using the jeeps, the tents, and people just killing stuff around to prevent us from seeing anything. That's also how they get, past the sensors as well. But then we see a mistake that slipped through filming that we were not supposed to see at all. Yet we do, because we just have better ability to watch the show than they did back when, in an era where you had much smaller displays with much smaller resolutions. Things like that would not have been caught, but we do catch it now. But like I said, it really gives us a neat insight into how they filmed some of those scenes. But I'll move the discussion down in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts on this episode and anything else I brought up in my review. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. You can also stay up to date on my content by following me on social media. I have a link tree down in the description which has all my social media links on it. Additionally, if you would like to support the channel, you can become a channel member and get early access to all my videos. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you always.